What? No whipped cream?
No, because did you know the satellite hazel footage is Korean TV? Oh, focus. I'm saying I feel bad. We're just turning up the hazel for the TV, the air conditioner, and stuff.
All right. Thank you guys for joining today. We're going live. We're on, let's see here. We got LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, StreamYard. So it's fun to see you guys on different platforms. So today we're going to talk about essentially how to go from idea to scale to be a 7 or 8 figure brand on Shopify or being a direct consumer company. So this is a fun one. I actually did a blog post a few years ago on this that did pretty well. So we wanted to kind of update it and turn it into a talk. So let me give a little bit of context on this. So I have a growth marketing agency called GrowthHit. We work with a lot of consumer brands, Shopify brands, and we've seen it go well. We've seen it not go well. We've seen companies go from idea to 7 figures very quickly. We've seen them raise money. We've seen them go in Shark Tank. But we've also seen them flatline. We've also seen them not be profitable, and then it doesn't look good. So we kind of did this analysis. We're like, if we had to create our dream Shopify brand from scratch, what would we do to guarantee success? And so we put it into 23 steps. And as a lot of you know, we acquired a company called Neat about a year ago, and we've been able to put it into action. And I've used that as a case study because we're like, hey, if we're such a good growth team, why can't we grow our own stuff? So let's dive in. The 23 things I would do if starting today to scale my Shopify store to 7 to 8 figures. Okay, so number 1, get the product right. If not, nothing matters, right? So how do you get the product right? First, we don't want to be a sea of sameness, right? And it's not about being the best. There's actually other ways to win. One is not to be better, but be different. One of my favorite examples here is Adam's shoes, where shoes are a crowded space, right? How do you compete? So they want to be different, and they do it by not having shoes in half sizes, but quarter sizes. And you can order a different size shoe for either foot, because I think 70% of people have different size feet. Another one is knowing your persona. When you try to be everything to everyone, that can be really tough. So look at a company like Humankind, right, where they're really leaning into the persona of eco-friendly buyers. This is one of my favorite moves, is by niching down by persona. The third one, I'll hit on Neat. For us, it's about solving a problem. And for that, that's people that sweat, people that have hyperhidrosis. You don't want to show pit stains or back sweat. So that's what we're going after. So that's step 1. Get the problem right. Do you know why people should care? Okay, let's go to the next one. Usually when launching, it's not about your brand. I'm not saying that branding's not important, but people aren't making their first purchase because of the brand. They're making the first purchase because of a flagship product. So when you're launching something, you need to ask yourself, what's that flagship product that people will fall in love with? And it introduces to the brand, and then you can land and expand with other products or other categories, right? You also want the product to be so good that you can demonstrate how it solves a problem and has a little bit of a referral word of mouth component to it. All right, let me actually blow this up so we can get into this. Okay, this might be a little bit better. All right, so with Girlfriend Collective, this is right when athleisure is becoming a thing. They launched on the back of their leggings. With Allbirds, they launched on the back of the Tree Runners. With Neat, launching on the back of the Pit Stopper undershirt that really demonstrates a shirt that can block sweat the best. Okay, cool. Let's go to number 3. With your flagship product, can you solve a real problem, right? I love the quote where, hey, let's not make vitamins. We want to make painkillers. And by the way, that problem can be real or can even be kind of silly or funny, right? With Curology, they're going after hair growth. I'm sorry, with Crayorescence, they're a beauty brand going after hair growth. With Curology, they're going after acne with personalized skincare products. With feet, they're going after your feet. With Neat, we're going after sweat. So who do you want to villainize? Who do you want to go after? What problem are you solving? And so I'll get into this in a second, but you also want to choose who you want to villainize. And usually it's not a company, it's a category or it's indifference. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is something where I see people make a lot of mistakes where they launch and they want to be everything to everyone. I would really push you to niche down. To niche down, you can go much farther. One of my favorite examples is Bala nursing shoes. This is shoes for nurses, right? How big is the market? It's actually massive because not only is it nurses, it's healthcare workers, it's restaurant workers, but they started with one core use case. These are some ex-Nike execs that did this. And it worked so well that when they launched, they will do 1.5 million in 7 days on the back of various nursing communities and influencers to kind of blow it up. And so I actually did a podcast episode with this founder where he broke down that strategy. There's a link to this. I'll be sending this deck afterwards. I'll put in the comments for people to check out. Okay, let's go to number 5. This one's big. You need to get the business model right. And so what does that mean? There's a phrase that I care about deeply with Neat and with our clients, and it's first purchase profitable. And that means on our first purchase from someone that came from a paid ad on Facebook or Google, when they make that order, can we be profitable? Because if not, man, that makes it tricky where in order to be profitable, we have to have them do a second or third purchase, or they have to subscribe and not churn. It puts a lot of stress on the P&L, profit and loss statement. So some things to consider. I want a high AOV, high average order value, so it can have first purchase profitability. Second is, do you have a product with a high repeat purchase rate? Is that monthly? Is that quarterly? What is that? I want a low return rate. For example, footwear has some of the highest return rates. Fashion can have high return rates, but something like beauty and consumables have a lower return rate. The other thing is limiting colors and sizes. That way you have to do less projections on what people are going to want. For example, with Neat, we're sold out of larges, but we have too many smalls, right? And so that's a real problem with resource allocation and inefficiency. And then again, bonus points if you're able to have a subscription product like Billy's Razors, or you can push people to bulk buy or do bundles. That's something we try and do with our brand, is really educate people on stocking up. Okay, let's go to number 6. Create a movement. Can you ride a wave that is only going to get bigger? Can you create a category that you own? Again, easier said than done. But there's been some brands that have been able to do this, right? You have Everlane leaning into radical transparency. You have Tom's and Bombas socks that are all about buy a pair, give a pair to someone in need. And what I put here, there's a fun graph from Bain and Harvard Business Review around the elements of value. When thinking about creating a new category, really think through the value you're doing. There's also a great book, The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, that says if you can't be first in a category, create your own. So these companies do a good job of category creation. Okay, let's go to number 7. Create your own category. Nice segue from the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. One of my favorite examples of this is Spanx. Whenever they launched, if they would have launched and just started saying, hey, we have this new category, people wouldn't know what it means or what it is. And so whenever you're creating a new category, you really need to lean into not having confusion. So that means show, don't tell. And it means like lean into the use cases when people would need this. And they did a good job of becoming an 8-figure brand on the back of 2 use cases. One, well, they're now like much bigger than that, but in the early days, 2 SKUs got them to 8 figures. And it was around, hey, avoid panty lines, use Spanx, or if you want to wear a silk dress and not show any rolls, use shapewear. That was huge for these guys in the early days. So again, create your own category. All right, let's go to number 8. Whenever you are choosing a category, whenever you're trying to get people to switch to you, you want to think through what are they switching from? In other words, Where do you want to pick a fight? What do you want to villainize? And one company that's doing this really well is Third Love. They wanted to make noise and get noticed with their undergarments, with the bras. And so they decided to pick a fight with Victoria's Secret. And they wanted to compete on one thing, and that's fit. And they basically say, hey, 80% of women are wearing the wrong bra size. Let us find the right one for you. They were so aggressive that look what they did in the New York Times. They took out this ad basically going after Victoria's Secret. Okay, let's go to number 9. Build a community. So a lot of times companies can be way too dependent on paid acquisition. Candidly, need is right now. A way to diversify is obviously to do search engine optimization, do non-paid channels. But one of the best ones, if you can pull it off, is building a community. And there's no better time to do that than in the early days, because you're able to get those early adopters that are passionate about the problem you solve, passionate about the category you're creating. They want to feel tied to the brand, help give feedback on the product. And so from Glossier to Lululemon to Crayola Essence, they've done a really good job of that. Like with, let's see, Lululemon, they're doing meetups, they're doing yoga on the rooftop, yoga in the park. They're using Meetup as a platform. Crayola Essence has a huge Facebook group. Glossier did an amazing job with their partnership program. So the question is, who are those early adopters and what's the best channel to have with them? And what's the type of content or the way you want to engage with them? Do you want to use them as a feedback loop? Do you want to use them to promote? And it really can depend on the industry and the category. All right, let's go to number 10. This one is going to be hard to hear that a lot of people don't get until it's too late. A cool product isn't enough. You need to test activation tactics to get people over the finish line. So what do I mean by that? I see this so often. People have a cool brand, cool logo, slick website, nice images, and then it just says buy now. And what happens is someone will come to the website like, oh, that looks cool. Okay, maybe I'll get that another time. That is criminal if you work that hard to get someone that far down the funnel and they don't convert. So what I would push you to do is, what is that irresistible offer that gets someone to convert? Even when they're on mobile, they're in line at Starbucks, they have 15 seconds. How do you get them to be like, this is so good, I have to get this offer across the finish line? Very much inspired by Alex Hormozi and the $100 million offer book. There's some other great offers out there, but some examples of companies that have done this really well. Third Love, they did the free fit finder that recommends a product to you. Curology, the one I'm showing here, they give you a personalized skincare product for free if you subscribe. Mott & Bow and Warby Parker did the home try-on program. Send you 5 glasses to test. If you don't like them, send them back for free. Beard Brand did a beard quiz. With Neat, we're testing a lot of offers. We have the sweat-proof guarantee. If you sweat through the shirt, money back. And then we have our starter pack bundle, which candidly has worked the best and scaled the best. Okay. Number 11. This one is big. If you get this, you get a black belt in marketing. As you get people to activate and fall in love with your product, how do you turn customers into marketers? In other words, how do you create a viral loop, right? So there's a few ways people have done in the past that I would say are a little outdated. And it's how can you remix or reinvent on top of that? So what I'm showing is one that is iconic that you'd want to reinvent on the top of. So when Harry's, which is subscription razors, was launching, they built a wait list. And when you get on the wait list, you would then go to this page where like, hey, if you share this with 5 friends, we'll give you free shaving cream. Share with 10 friends, you get free razor and blades. If you if you share it to 50 people, we'll give you a year's supply of products. On average, everyone that signed up invited 8 people, and they were able to get their wait list to over 100,000. Girlfriend Collective, if you would share their product on Facebook or Instagram, they would give you $90 leggings for free. They got 200,000 new customers on the back of this. We've been testing this with Neat. It worked a little too well. We quickly got 200 new customers, but we're pausing it to see what their lifetime value is, to see those repeat purchase orders. But again, this is one. We had another brand. We got, I think, 10,000 new customers in a day on the back of a referral mechanism. Okay, let's go to number 12. Invest early in organic traffic, because I see this play out way too often where companies scale on the back of paid, and then there's an algorithm change, or ads aren't as efficient, or cost per impressions go up. And they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have diversified earlier. So if you can get a non-paid channel working, like search engine optimization to be good on rankings, or even ranking with an AI using a tool like Noatoa, that's huge. An Honest Company did a very good job of this, where they went for top of funnel searches, like this one right here. What is tociferol? To be one of the first results, to catch those early adopters with high intent and then funnel them to the product. Okay, let's go to number 13. Don't worry, we've got 10 more. Hopefully you guys are still holding on. Retention is the new CAC, customer acquisition cost. In other words, you know what your greatest growth hack is? Having strong retention. So as ad costs go up, are you investing in your email program, in SMS, in a loyalty program, in your life cycle marketing, your email automation flows? Some ways to think about doing this is, hey, how do we have really good segmentation and personalization? Do we understand the buying journey and what to funnel people to? The other call out with SMS or text messages, are you doing something creative that is different from your email strategy? For example, we had a wine brand where we would do text message, SMS marketing, where you could connect with a sommelier. Curology, you can text message with a dermatologist. That allowed them to get their retention to over 10 months. And again, some of you have products where it's a little bit harder to have high retention, but it's something I would definitely be wanting to push. All right. The other component is customer services marketing, especially for products or brands that have a high repeat purchase, or maybe you're in a category with a high return rate. If you can delight people with customer service, you're going to create amazing brand loyalty and affinity to where they're not going to switch and they're going to want to stay with you. Warby Parker in the early days would do custom YouTube videos to customers. Bonobos had the ninjas that they would go after. Some things we're testing right now is how we can use really smart AI tools to get people information they want faster, but also use that to arm our customer service agents with better data so they can better serve customers and clients. But obviously, this is a big one. Okay, this is one of the biggest ones that we did for our own brand Neat. And it's investing in CRO, conversion rate optimization, to unlock growth. So what does that mean? What it means is, do you have a website that can convert paid traffic to customers? Because here's what I see happen. Most people will overspend on Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads, and they will neglect their website. But they have like a 0.51% conversion rate. You double that conversion rate, you're going to double your business. Why wouldn't you focus on that? So with Neat in the early days, you can kind of see the before photo here. It didn't convey the message. We're about to sell a $40 shirt and the headline just says nothing but Neat. What does that even mean? So with our updated web page, as you can see, it's like make the switch. Unlike regular shirts, ours hide pit stains and back sweat. We have a photo or an image or a video demonstrating the product. Actually, I can even go to the website if this is helpful. So yeah, like right when we acquired this company, this was priority number one, was updating this website to make it a conversion machine. So first thing I did was, hey, this website needs to speak to the value prop, because within 15 seconds, if you don't know the difference between us and other shirts, we have lost. So being very clear, no conversion on that point of differentiation. We invest in better videos and better imagery to speak to the value. The other big thing is I'm funneling people to bundles, because I want order value to be out. And notice how we put technical shots here to show the details of the shirt and how it hides sweat. Because when you're about to spend $100 on a 3-shirt bundle, you need to know that it's overflowing with content, right? And then some other things we did at the cart level, you'll see this pop out. We put incentives to increase the average order value. But anyway, that was a big one for us, is investing in CRO. We got the conversion rate from 0.7 to 4%. And then our average order value, instead of spending $50 per visit, people would spend 100. This was transformative for the business model, as you can imagine. Which leads to the next one, which is Meta and Instagram. So most companies we see going to 7 and 8 figures are becoming black belt at Meta and Instagram, specifically on their creative studio. There's not enough time. We've done a whole separate workshop on how to scale from $10 a day to $1,000 per day. But a couple call outs is overinvest in high quality creative that speaks to your point of differentiation or the problem you solve. But that doesn't mean it has to be high quality content. Our best content is actually the ugly ads I don't like, and it's user generated content. And unfortunately, here's the first ad we did that won, and it was me, not somebody else, because I was like, I'm just going to do it myself. And then we used this ad to show other creators who since have made better ads than me. But let me I'll let you watch the video. Here's the one ad that really helped our brand take off. And we tested 8 where some of them couldn't scale, but this one scaled. So I'll hit play on this real quick so we can watch. Oh, maybe this will need to pop out to a screen. I apologize. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, but I'll hit play. You'll get the feel for it as you watch it. Okay, so we tested that video a lot of different ways. We would do a long version, a short version. We would start with the balloon popping. We'd start with the shirt to show the after. And those little details made a huge impact. We have since really scaled where we're getting kind of, I don't know, I'd say 8 pieces of user-generated content per month. And we've been able to, I guess we've 5x the ad spend. We're increasing $50 a day every 4 days, and the unit economics are holding. We've just launched also in Australia, and we're starting to scale there. That one's a little bit harder, but we are seeing some efficiencies. Okay, on the Google Ads side, what I love about Meta and Instagram, it's a little bit easier to scale, a bigger audience, so we can do more storytelling. However, with Google Ads, there is some low-hanging fruit. If someone goes to Google and like, I need a shirt that hides sweat, it would be criminal if we didn't come up. So we're very aggressive with what we call those bottom of funnel and middle of the funnel searches. So we have a really strong ROI, return on investment, or ROAS on Google Ads. It does have a little bit of issue with scaling just on the nature of the intent. But it's all about doing a really good keyword mapping. You could bid on competitors if you want to play that game. You should probably protect your brand name and bid on it. Yes, I know it's annoying. And as you get a bigger catalog, include your Google shopping ads, update your feed. That way your Shopify store is being pulled into your Google ads so they can be displayed in those recommendations. We're also taking our top performing ads from Meta. We're now applying them to YouTube, and we're applying them to TikTok to see how those scale. So that's another thing that we'll be adding to this one. Okay, slide 18 or reason 18. Don't reinvent the wheel with your tech stack. I'd really push you, like, innovate on your positioning, innovate on your creative, but use some of the tried and true tools to scale. So for us, we lean very heavily on Shopify, on Klaviyo. For referrals, we're using Viral Loops and Smile. And then for reviews, it's Yachtpo, ShipStation, Gorgeous for customer service. And there's some other great tools out there, but we'll default to that. And as you start to learn from them and see what you like, you can customize, make your own, or try other tools. But I've spent way too much time trying to create the holy grail tech stack, and it doesn't make sense. Okay, this is a big one. Know your numbers, know your unit economics, then scale. So what do I mean by that? I want you to understand what your guardrails are for scaling your product. And I'll give some that we have for need. So that means know your margin, know your payback time, how long you're willing to wait to get paid. So what does that mean? Do you want to be first purchase profitable? We have some brands that do like event gowns and dresses. We got to be profitable in that first purchase. But then we have supplement companies that are like, hey, we can wait 3 months to be profitable. again, what's your average order value? With meat, you know, when it was $50, I was like, man, that's really hard to scale for products that are $50. I need that to be $120. Also, what's your customer acquisition cost, blended or per channel? We analyze our CAC, customer acquisition costs, on Facebook, on Google, and then blended. Also, I really care about not just revenue per email, but overall sales from email. We were too dependent on paid ads. And now that our database is getting bigger, we're really looking to push to get 30% of sales from email. Again, what's your purchase conversion rate? We talked about that, wanting to be over 2% as a standard. And then what's your return rate? Different industries have different averages for return rates. Like shoes could be like 20 to 30, apparel could be 15, supplements and consumable could be under 15%. And the Store Growers has some good benchmarks to check out. But so, for example, here's my guardrails and how we scale need. It's like we can have a ROAS as low as, call it like 1.75, and we're going to scale. Right now, our ROAS is really strong, and that actually tells me we're not spending enough. Also, like I'm willing to spend up to $100 to acquire a customer. We're well below that. But as I look at our metrics each week and we're within those guardrails, we're increasing the spend. And if we start to approach a barrier, then I would reassess. But again, those are the two numbers I care about to control how I scale. And my whole performance team knows those, and we're aligned with them. Number 20, we're a few away. Hopefully you guys are still hanging on. I appreciate it. Your launch strategy can give you an unfair advantage. I'm all about creating a marketing moment, and there's no better time to give people a reason to care than when launching. You could take a note from Ministry of Supply that leaned into crowdfunding on Kickstarter with pre-sales. You could lean into Harry's waitlist approach and doing pre-launch. With Bala Shoes, they spoke to 500 nurses before launching. On the day of launch, they sent an individual email to each one, and that's how they did 7 figures on launch day. I did a whole report on this, 7 successful product launch examples to test out. There's a link to it in this deck as well. But one thing that we're trying to do with Need is we launch new colors and styles. We're pre-launching and giving you a discount for getting early access to things. So that's a muscle we're looking to build. All right, a few more here. Okay, this is my favorite one. This is probably the worst slide because you can't read it, but let me tell you why it's important. You've got your foundation of your positioning, everything going. Now it's like, okay, what are we doing for the next week, month, quarter, year? I don't know about you, but I do not like to-do lists. Nothing gets done with a to-do list. I'm all about the calendar. I want you to calendar out all of your marketing motions. So what is this? So right now you've got months 1 through 12. So January to December up here on the X-axis. On the Y-axis, these are all the different marketing initiatives you could be doing. And I'm going to put it into 2 simple categories. Always on. What are you always doing throughout the year? We're always doing Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, Pinterest, Google ads. We're always doing SEO-focused blog posts. We're always doing conversion rate optimization. We're always sending email. Okay, got it. Maybe you're always doing affiliate marketing. But here's the big one. What are your marketing moments or growth events throughout the year? How often are you launching a product? How often are you doing an influencer campaign? How often are you doing giveaways? How often are you doing discounts? How often are you doing partnerships or collabs? How often do you do PR stunts or go on a podcast tour? How often do you do some crazy offer, activation, or create a tool and do engineering as marketing? The most impressive brands that have gotten to 7 or 8 figures are the ones that every month make noise. They give you a reason to care. And there's one other component I want to tie to this growth calendar, and it's this. Build your calendar, build your strategy around your seasonal dips and spikes. So what I'm showing here is, see this green line? Usually, this isn't always standard, but usually there's maybe 2 big spikes with your business model, your industry. Let's say Q4 is big because of the holidays, and maybe it's a summer product, so it's really big in the summertime. But it's also, hey, Q1's rough for us. There's no demand. Or, hey, the fall's really rough between summer and Q4. So as you do your calendar, you need to ask yourself, when are you in demand capture season which would be here Q4 of the summer. And when are you in demand creation season? So in these trough seasons, that's when I would do a marketing moment of, hey, I need to give people reason to care. I'm gonna do a collab, a partnership. I'm gonna launch a product. We're gonna do a pop-up series. That way you can minimize the troughs and maximize the peaks. So with the peaks and valleys. And again, the most impressive brands are the ones that do this really well. And then finally, you can put all this together to really understand what your growth machine is. And so with Neat, ours is very simple. It starts on the back of our value proposition and our claim and our offer that we have here. So many people will look past this, but everything should be around that promise you're making to a potential customer. Because at the end of the day, all a brand is a promise. And then it's like, what are the right traffic channels allow you to promote that promise, from paid channels, organic channels, viral channels, or partner channels, right? And then from there, we're funneling to the website, to the product page. And then we talked about your growth calendar and how email and SMS can help amplify that. But again, what's not included is, hey, what about Amazon? What about Etsy? What about going on wholesale? Those are definitely topics for another post. What I wanted to focus on for today is really focusing on the direct-to-consumer Shopify model. And again, we've done a deeper dive. We've even done some fun talks on scaling ads. We've done some fun talks on using custom GPTs and AI tools to do this at scale. That's in our archive for our content website. You can get to that through GrowthHit. But as a quick summary, if I were starting today and trying to go from idea to 7 to 8 figures, I would be looking at these 23 things and asking, what can I do really well? Am I getting the product right? What is my flagship product? Is it solving a real problem? Who are those early adopters? Okay, are we creating a movement or creating a category? Are we picking a fight with someone? Do we build a community? What is that irresistible offer? How do I turn customers into marketers? When do we invest in SEO? And then really being black belt at how you do your paid ads, how you do creative, making sure you've invested in conversion rate optimization to have a website that can convert. Know your numbers so you know how to scale, and then build out that growth calendar. But yeah, well, hopefully that was helpful. We really nerd out on this stuff and love it. If you want to learn more about it, sign up for our newsletter. You can get to that at the growthhit.com blog. We have a newsletter where we're pumping out a lot of fun stuff. And we share on LinkedIn every Wednesday what we're doing with Neat and how we're growing it and scaling it. I'm a little delayed, but I'm putting out a post later today with our ad. That's the top performer. And yeah, we do a lot of fun AI-powered growth stuff for Shopify brands with our agency GrowthHit if you have any questions. But yeah, hopefully you got something out of this. Would love to know your thoughts or feedback in the comments. It's fun to see how many attendees we have here. And if you, for whatever reason, didn't get to see all of this, we'll be publishing this as well on our content website. We'll put a link to that. But thank you guys so much for the time today. Really appreciate it.